The Pacific Ocean has become a new battleground in the geopolitical rivalry between China and the United States. In recent years, there's been a flurry of diplomatic activity in the region as the two superpowers vie for influence through economic, diplomatic, and military means. But why is this region so important to the two superpowers? In this video, we'll talk about what the US and China have been doing, why people are paying more attention to this region, and what the countries in the middle of it all think. Before we start, if you haven't already, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell to stay in the loop. The broader Asia-Pacific region is quite large, but we'll focus on specific areas in the Pacific Ocean called Polynesia, Micronesia, and Melanesia. These areas have many island nations. Some are big, like Papua New Guinea and the Solomon Islands, while others are much smaller, like Kiribati and Tuvalu. So why is this region and these countries so important that both the US and China are investing significant efforts to engage with them? To start with, there are clear factors like fishing rights, valuable natural resources, and vital shipping routes. Additionally, there is substantial potential for cooperation on critical issues like climate change and development. The region also plays a significant military role, having been a major battleground during World War II and controversially serving as the site for numerous nuclear tests conducted by countries such as the US and France. Even in the present day, the Pacific still hosts several vital US military bases in places like Guam and the Marshall Islands. In the event of conflicts in the area, including those related to Taiwan, having additional allies would be beneficial for both the US and China. At first look, the United States may seem quite distant from the area we're discussing, but it has had a pretty strong presence in this region for over 100 years. But there's the US state of Hawaii, which became part of the United States in 1898. Additionally, there are US territories like Guam, the Northern Mariana Islands, and American Samoa. Furthermore, there are three independent countries, Micronesia, Nauru, and the Marshall Islands, which all have special agreements known as Compacts of Free Association with the US that go back to the latter half of the 1900s. On the other hand, China's involvement in the region, though, is a relatively new development, especially in the last 10 years during President Xi Jinping's leadership. When we say involvement, we're talking about things like business, money, help with growth, and other activities. However, what really caught the attention of the leaders in the United States and its Pacific friends like Australia and New Zealand was the signing of a security partnership between China and the Solomon Islands in March 2022. This happened only a few years after the Solomon Islands changed its diplomatic recognition from Taiwan to the People's Republic of China. The agreement marked China's first publicly known security deal with the country in this area. It includes things like Chinese training and providing equipment to the police. It also allows for Chinese law enforcement officers to come to the islands and help with policing, a job that Australia and New Zealand have traditionally done. The United States and its friends were worried that this agreement might lay the foundation for China to have a permanent navy presence in the Solomon Islands, and they didn't keep their concerns a secret. These agreements caused a lot of diplomatic activity, not only in the Solomon Islands, but in the broader Pacific region, as the United States and its friends quickly worked to strengthen and expand their involvement in the area. Here are some of the events that occurred after the agreement became known in March 2022. In September 2022, US President Joe Biden organized a significant meeting for leaders from Pacific Islands at the White House, with another scheduled for this October. Joe Biden has extended greater economic assistance to Pacific Islands during a White House meeting with leaders from the region, aiming to strengthen US involvement in response to an increasing Chinese presence. The president also formally recognized two new island nations, the Cook Islands and Niue, at the commencement of the Pacific Islands Forum, a two-day series of meetings in Washington involving leaders from all 18 member nations. In addition to acknowledging the Cook Islands and Niue, the administration has established two new embassies in the Solomon Islands and Tonga. Part of the economic support Biden is offering includes ensuring secure undersea cable connectivity for Pacific Island nations. Nevertheless, the proposed funding must be presented to Congress, where Republicans are threatening a government shutdown in a budgetary standoff. Even Emmanuel Macron, the French president, became involved by visiting New Caledonia, Vanuatu, and Papua New Guinea in July. This year, the US has also signed agreements to extend the Compacts of Free Association with Micronesia and Palau, with hopes of doing the same with the Marshall Islands. Last year, Australia made an agreement with Fiji to strengthen military cooperation. In December, a group of Australian politicians visited Vanuatu, Micronesia, and Palau. The pace of activity seemed to increase in 2023. Meanwhile, there were more high-profile diplomatic visits, including Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese's trip to Fiji in March, US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's visit to Papua New Guinea in May to sign a maritime security agreement, and his visits to Tonga, New Zealand and Australia a few months later. So, what is the significance of these countries and this region that both the US and China are dedicating substantial efforts to engage with? The Chinese effort in the region, beyond posing a challenge to the US, brings numerous advantages to Beijing. To begin with, among the 13 countries that still acknowledge Taiwan, 4 are Pacific Islands nations. China has already made progress in this regard, with the Solomon Islands and Kiribati shifting their recognition in 2019. Engaging with these countries also opens up profitable business prospects for Beijing. For instance, the Solomon Islands recently obtained a $66 million loan from the Export-Import Bank of China to construct a network of over 160 mobile towers, which are being built and operated by the Chinese technology giant Huawei. It's important to keep in mind that at the heart of this rivalry between major powers are several small, relatively less affluent countries confronting the shared challenge of climate change and lacking significant diplomatic influence. So, in many respects, the increased attention from both the US and China can be viewed as positive news for them. More focus, increased investment, expanded trade, additional assistance, and so forth. However, being in this position also comes with drawbacks. It exposes them to coercion and pressure, and their concept of security does not always align with the perspectives of Washington or Beijing. Moreover, the competition for influence has in some cases led to heightened insecurity and instability. Take, for instance, the situation in Vanuatu, where the Prime Minister was recently ousted through a no-confidence vote amid a crisis stemming from his agreement with Australia on security matters. He has since been replaced by a former Prime Minister who previously advocated for closer ties with China and now intends to review the pact with Australia. Even more significant was an outbreak of unrest in the Solomon Islands in 2019, triggered, among other things, by the government's decision to switch recognition from Taiwan to Beijing. Leaders of several Pacific nations, including those who have entered into agreements with foreign powers, have attempted to emphasize their focus on development and security with the goal of maintaining a neutral stance. Fijian Prime Minister Sitiveni Rabuka has cautioned against US and Chinese efforts to polarize the Pacific, emphasizing the region's importance as a zone of peace and non-aligned territories. But given the trajectory of US-China relations, achieving this goal may prove challenging. That's it for today. And now we invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. Do subscribe to the channel if you like our content. We will catch you in the next one. Bye.